Afternoon, heads up. I hope you enjoyed meeting for church on live stream this morning. It was really encouraging to see so many people involved. Lovely to see Florence and Alice in the garden helping with actions, Sam and Susie leading us in music, and Sophia reading for us. Really lovely to see people getting stuck in. This virtual boost is a chance to think a little bit further about the sermon, take it a little bit forward in application and try and think about it for us. Maybe you've already got some takeaway points for yourself, which is great. Why don't you stick with those? I'm going to give us two, just some follow-on thoughts that I found interesting to ponder and will continue to do so. And the first was that, I guess the first point, remember Rob's, we don't know when Jesus will return, but we know that he will return. And that last application point, don't worry that you don't know when Jesus will return. God knows, and if you know him, that's enough. I love that. If you know him, that's enough. And it got me thinking about some reading I've been doing recently about people that we trust. Think of all the people that you trust in your life. Maybe it's your parents, a sibling, maybe grandparent, godparent, maybe your best friend. Somebody in your life who you could tell anything to. You know, who somebody, if they made a promise to you, you'd know that they would stick with it, that they'd keep to it. Because they've given you every reason in the world for you to know that they are trustworthy. You will entrust anything to them because you trust them. You believe what they say is true. And it just got me thinking, why do we find it so hard to treat God like that? Why do we find it so hard to leave things with him, to entrust them to him? Maybe you're like me and you just find so often you just want to control everything. You want to be in charge. You want to make sure that you've got it sorted. And this morning was just a great reminder for me to let go and trust God. Give myself over to him with all the big unknowns, with all the big things that I can't control, with the little things too. To trust him to handle those. To trust him that Jesus will come back. The second takeaway thing was that final question. Where do you need the Lord's help to be a wise and faithful servant? Because whilst we wait for his return, we are called to be faithful and wise servants to this trustworthy God, to live for him. Maybe you've heard the story of Ernest Shackleton and Frank Wild. They were part of an expedition in 1901 to Antarctica. And for various reasons, Ernest Shackleton had to leave the expedition and return with a group to rescue the others. And he left Frank Wild in charge of this group that had to stay behind. And he tried 4 times to get back. 3 of them were unsuccessful. And on that final and 4th time, he made it. And he got back to the group so he could bring them back to England. He could rescue them. And he was amazed because as he turned up, after months of waiting, he found them packed and ready to leave. And on the trip home, he said, "Boys, how come you were ready?" And they said it was Frank Wild. Every morning he would get up, roll up his bed and say, "Boys, get ready. Get ready. The boss might come back today." That story stuck with me and it just made me think about this. Frank Wild was a faithful and wise servant. He lived every day faithfully, wisely, waiting for his boss to return. And it just got me thinking, what ways? How can I grow? How can you grow to be faithful and wise? What are some really specific ways to be a wise and faithful servant of the Lord? Maybe it's being disciplined in thinking about how Jesus is relevant to every moment, about the way he's relevant to what you spend your time reading and watching. Maybe it's learning to trust him more with different things. Maybe that's what it's going to look like for you to be a faithful and wise servant. That thing which you find really hard to let go of, and you just need to pray about it and hand it over to him, to let him be in charge. Think of 2 really concrete, specific ways in which you can grow to be a faithful and wise servant of the Lord. I'll pray. Lord God, thank you for the promise of Christ's return. Thank you that you are absolutely trustworthy. Father, help us to live by faith, ready and waiting to be your wise and faithful servants until our Master returns. Amen. Amen. Enjoy the sunshine today, guys. More news on Heads Up this week coming your way, so keep your eyes peeled for that. See you soon.